In Roblox Tower Defense Simulator, this is a normal zombie. Very basic, very weak. You can take him out with pretty much any attacking tower. And this is a nuclear monster. He has 1.5 million health and is a fair bit trickier, because in TDS there are currently 7 different game modes, ranging from very easy to hard to this guy, and I set out to try to beat them all. So first of all, we gotta clear the easiest game mode first, which is Molten. Now TDS has 3 kind of standard game modes, with this one being fire themed. But I mean, compared to the others, it's essentially an automatic win if you're a level 200 player with every tower unlocked. And Molten was the only game mode I played with no teammates, using this loadout with some pretty rare towers. Gold Scouts for early defense, Farm for money, Accelerator for DPS, and DJ and Commander for their buffs led me to wave 40, where I faced the first of the bosses, the Molten boss. He's an incendiary demon, but not that powerful, having only 70,000 health and some stunning and summoning abilities. I mean, I took him down fairly quickly. Yet things are going to get about 1,000 times harder from here, with this next mode being normal. Now this mode is technically meant to be easier than Molten, but the developers messed up the balancing just a little bit. TDS game modes typically have 40 waves, yet normal mode has just 30. Which means you do fight less zombies, but you also face the stronger variants much earlier, like these shadow zombies appearing on wave 9 rather than 13, or this slow boss appearing on wave 16 rather than 22. Still, the specialty zombies for normal are, as you might guess, pretty mild. I mean, you have the strongs, which they're not really that strong. And of course, the Gravedigger as a final boss. I recruited a team for this, as I would for every other mode, and while I had some problems later on, in this match, everyone had high tier towers and was very chill, easily letting us take down the boss, as the Gravedigger only has a few abilities and just 40,000 health. Now, however, the difficulty takes an immediate step up with Fallen. These zombies are about as advanced as the standard versions get, yet still not as powerful or unique as the standalone game modes. And with no real special abilities or anything, just kinda more health. With 4 players, all very highly leveled, this was a straightforward game. Cowboys and quick bosses were our early defense, and by the end game, we had 8 mortars, 6 engineers, however many accelerators this is, and a bunch of other sorted towers. And we shredded the Fallen King, possibly the most iconic boss, with his black and purple colorings and energy themed attacks. But 150,000 health is still not really that much. At this point, you might be like, wow, already 3 game modes down. This is just going swimmingly right now. Oh man. Next, we move on to the standalone game modes, of which there are 4, and the easiest of which is Pizza Party. In this FNAF themed game mode, you defend a pizzeria from a variety of puppet themed zombies. Things started out rather poorly in this run, as we were all generally too invested in the money game, and were underprepared for the scout boss. Yeah, in this mode, the towers you normally defend with have been turned into toy enemy versions of themselves. Horrifying, honestly. And this boss delivered us some fat damage, nearly causing us to lose to these shadows here. It was very close. And there were more tense waves as the zombies ran deep along the path, but I eventually got all my farms to level 3 and started placing and upgrading mortars. Now I make special mention of this tower because unlike the many others I cycled through, this guy was vital in beating all 3 of the main special modes. His splash damage is a great way to counter all the hordes of zombies, and in this mode specifically, he was required to kill the Balloon Boy zombies, which fly above ground-based towers. The next puppet tower after Scout was Shotgunner, kinda like the slow boss from before. He's a bit faster though, and has a big HP bar. Oh whoa, I don't know if I'm saying that right. Got some accelerators down, which carried early, and was assisted by Pro and Benji, as our whole team had brought Accelerator. I placed sledgers on corners, and they froze and slowed down the zombie hordes. We melted down the Commander puppet. He has this little Call of Arms ability, which is cute, and the minigunner puppets, reaching the final wave. The boss of this mode is Wox the Fox, with a terrifying 250,000 health. I mean, that is a lot more than the Fallen King, but compared to the other final bosses, it's much less. He has special abilities like a jump scare and a stun, but his health is a bit too low to be threatening. As he took more and more damage, he shed his furry coverings and melted down into an endoskeleton as he died. Another dub. Next is Badlands II, because it's technically a remake. This mode takes place in a parched desert map with 3 paths. I mean, there's not really many special zombies here, but all the pre-existing zombies wear cowboy hats, so that's pretty cool. Trying to join a game here, I witnessed something that would come back to haunt me during the Polluted game. Matchmaking. As upon joining this first game, all of my team left. And the second time around, half of my team left. It took a few more attempts to finally get in the game with a full team, all of us having synergizing loadouts. For early defense, SG1 placed an ace pilot and Bio placed a cowboy, where Bio then said, "Hey, this placement sucks, man." Which, like, it's not great, but it's really not that bad. And he convinced SG1 to sell his tower, and he didn't have enough money to replace it instantly, where we suddenly started taking a lot more damage. This is my live reaction. We skipped through a wave and he got back down, but that was definitely scary. Me and Ari, the last member of our team, both took the same approach, farming a bit early and getting down a Mortar to help defend. We made it through the mid game and Ari started placing accelerators as I got engineer. And then we had an absolute classic TDS moment. Two DJs placed right next to each other. If you don't know, the effects do not stack, and this isn't even the only time it happened. It sounds like I'm kinda roasting my team here, but nah, we did alright. Our lowest point was here, surviving a breaker horde with 2 health. This actually happens like every time I play this mode, I don't know why. But we did manage to rebound and build our defense back up. I got sledgers, once again for the slowing effect, and spammed accelerators and engineers. Even with 3 times the normal amount of zombies, we were holding our own. Mortar is so real for this. With everyone maxing out their towers, we reached wave 40. And the boss here is the Gunslinger, a giant zombie cowboy who can use a mounted minigun against you, protected by a platoon of his cavalry who shoot at and stun towers. Probably the most stylish zombies, honestly. The boss itself has 600,000 health, so over twice that of Walk's. And the path here is substantially shorter. I was low-key stressing, and we ended up cutting it very close. I started moving out of range towers, panicking hard, as he still had like half his cavalry and 50,000 health. But just barely, like actually barely, we took him out at the entrance to our base, completing the 3rd hardest game mode. That was difficult, but it's really nothing compared to Polluted Wastelands, the final of the 3 main special game modes, and by far the most challenging. Let me showcase what makes this mode so much harder than the others. Now for one thing, the map is easier, which seems counterintuitive at first. It's got all these loops that mean your towers can attack for longer, but really, this is just an excuse for the developers to spam the most broken, overpowered zombies in the game. For example, take this match. Lost_Dad and Hola placed cowboys for early defense, while me and Musk farmed. The special zombies here are these little mutated guys, a theme which persists throughout the mode. They have comparatively more health than the other early game equivalents and gain annoying toxic abilities. Thanks to my farming, I got an accelerator in time for the hiddens. This accelerator is actually incredibly important, because fast forward through some more early game zombies to wave 22 and the amalgamation spawns, compared to the normally 1600 health slow boss or the 2000 health shotgunner, and it breaks down into a ton of smaller pieces as it takes damage. If you don't have a highly upgraded accelerator here, you're going to lose. Even as it was a close thing, as I had to sell a farm to max one out, defeating the zombie just in time. Now this mode has some of the most punishing enemies, like the rushers, incredibly fast with shields to buffer their health. Mortar, again, was invaluable here, though we needed multiple accelerators to finish them. Or the Abomination, which kinda looks like the tank, the normal 6,000 health zombie, not too tricky, except when it dies, it comes back to life and goes Super Saiyan. Although by the time it spawned, we had enough towers to handle it. From there, more and more stuff spawns. You can't forget the slimes, the wardens, the necromancers, the toxics, the circuits. Take all of those and spam like 50 of them. Yep. I mean, even through this narration, you can probably notice, Polluted Wastelands usually devolves into a messy, chaotic scramble, culminating in the boss of the mode, the nuclear monster, who is just miserable. This guy has the most health of any zombie in the game, 1.5 million. That's equal to more than 2 gunslingers, 6 walks of foxes, or 10 fallen kings. It's absurd. He has a litany of abilities to ruin your life. Stun all your towers? Yep. Spawn 30 zombies? Yeah. Delete your tower's range? He can do it all. Even with maxed out accelerators, engineers, rangers, every single support, we struggled very heavily, as he used ability after ability after, imagine me saying that like 10 times. And we ended up losing. Yeah. On the 3rd loop of the path, he used his summon ability, and the spawned slime zombie killed us. I was definitely tilted, as the problem was, out of any of ours controls. This mode is difficult to the point where you need your team to have the 3 main supports and at least like 3 or 4 people with Accelerator and an additional DPS tower like Engineer, just to output enough damage to maybe kill the boss. In that game, we just did not have enough damage. You could like go on the Discord and look for people to coordinate with, but I wanted the true casual experience using the automatic matchmaking system. So I played on, and after a few resets got into another round. If I were to describe this match in 3 words, a complete disaster class. Our team composition was pretty good, the only problem being we had 4 DJs in place of Commander. Still, I thought maybe we had a very slim chance at least. Legend of Lightning and I farmed for Accelerators early, while our other teammates used Gold Scouts and Ace Pilots for early defense. We got Accelerators upgraded in time for Wave 22 and we took down the Amalgamation. From here though, things went downhill quickly. For one, our 4th teammate was deliberately trolling, just spamming Ace Pilots and being annoying. You can see this great DJ placement here, yes. And eventually Toxic Jax was like, wait a minute, no Commander? He started arguing with that 4th teammate who lied about having and refusing to place Commander. He did not have it equipped, which caused the Legend of Lightning to leave. And from there, it was a short transition to a loss. From here on out, I just didn't play out any games that didn't have perfect team composition, which meant I had to go through 12 failed starts, taking roughly half an hour. Finally though, I got into this lobby. We were missing Medic, but every player had both Engineer and Accelerator equipped, and I knew I wouldn't get a much better chance. This run was similar to the previous Wave 40 attempt, but with obviously more firepower. Gold Scouts held down the early game, I maxed the DJ, and Pooh got a level 5 Accelerator just in time for the Amalgamation. Shout out Pooh, I recommend following in his footsteps here. Only takes a second, subscribe if you aren't. We all placed down Accelerators. Honestly, it doesn't really get much stronger than this. Mortar again proved its usefulness and helped decimate the mid-wave 30s, but the late game wasn't the problem. The nuclear monster was, as once again, I reached wave 40. This time with my team having about 30 accelerators and 20 engineers. But with no medic, we couldn't counter the boss's stuns. Still, the DPS made up for it, down to 700,000 by the first loop, down to 150,000 by the second. By the third loop though, he summoned multiple times, and I moved my towers as I was still worried we might lose here, just because of how short the path is to the end. When I originally played this mode, I did actually lose just like that, so I was scared. Plus, our damage was really slowing down, but with his final chance to end us, he used a stunning rather than a spawning ability. We focused down the nuclear monster itself, and I finally beat Polluted Wastelands. That was quite a trial, but it does mean there's just one game mode left. Hardcore mode. Undoubtedly just the strangest game mode. Hardcore has had a storied history, which is to say it's made a lot of people mad. For good reason, I would argue. Now this mode is hard capped to 3 players rather than 4, and I ended up teaming up with Venado and Turbo. Not just random players, as we all agreed to use a strategy guide, which essentially gave us the plan to win the game, because, as you might guess, hardcore is hard. But unlike Polluted Wastelands, which at least feels possible if you have every tower and are high level, hardcore just feels depressingly hard. Like, the developers don't care about it, the general player base doesn't like it, even the best players who this is designed for don't like it. And joining the match, it's easy to see why. I had the role of the ace pilot player, which meant I had to use this loadout as it's outcalculated, and I had to quickly provide early game defense before farming for a while. This wasn't exactly optimal gameplay, I loaded in late and wasn't able to place farm early, but it still let us survive long enough for Turbo and Venado to place Gold Soldier and Pyromancer respectively. From here, things got shaky. In this mode, the zombies get way more health, you make no money, and everything costs way more to place. I hate this mode. Venado's first accelerator just let us take down the slow boss by wave 22, and we gradually moved our firepower from the very back of the map up to the front. The strategy from here on out was pretty much to just spam accelerators and pursuits for damage, as we tackled the mode's incoming specialty zombies, who display a major part of the mode's problem. Like, look at this guy, the Fallen Titan. At first glance, he looks swag, I guess. I wrote that in the script. But you might realize his model looks a bit off, especially compared to the quality of the other modes and their unique zombies, because this guy has been unchanged since his addition in 2020, as have the rest of these zombies. Hardcore mode has been kind of abandoned by the developers, only receiving very infrequent balancing updates. Like, the zombie has this 40 damage shield protection thing, which is quite literally a leftover asset from 2020, and it doesn't even work anymore because they use a new resistance system. In general, it's just a bunch of weird stuff in hardcore, all contributing to the balance issues. However, in this game, things were going quite well. We collectively placed down 30 pursuits, and we were destroying the zombies, I think. These Speedy King zombies threw an unexpected fear of God into me, as they randomly broke through our front line. But they were the exception, as everything else went down easily, including the other bosses. Hardcore has not 1, 2, 3, or even 4, but 5 final bosses, reusing the zombies from the 3 standard modes. Gravedigger spawns in wave 36 and is quite weak. The Molten boss follows on wave 44, as yeah, this mode actually goes all the way to 50, and the health bar draining was very satisfying to look at. But before the Fallen King, there's the Fallen Swordmaster, a new boss exclusive to hardcore. He dual wields swords and wears a Roblox crown, but aside from looking dripped, he's not that much of a threat, as all he really did was stun our towers. We killed him on wave 47, leading into the Fallen King spawning on the following wave. The speedy boss nearly got us again, but the boss itself was little threat, as the Fallen King still only had its base 150,000 health. Finally, we reached wave 50, and the boss spawned as the Void Reaver, with technically less health than the nuclear monster, 1.2 million. Venato had the commander and had to chain the Call of Arms ability, while I was the medic player and had to heal us when the Reaver stunned our towers, which he can do in a variety of unique ways, with these galactic distortions, a stomp, a sword slam. He used his javelin attack to lower our base health before activating his low HP powered up form, where he just kinda walks faster. With the sheer power of 24 accelerators and 30 pursuits, we did take out the Void Reaver, meaning I'd officially beaten every game mode in TDS, and earned like 5,000 coins and 300 gems total. Overall, this took 2 days of playing and a ton of editing, so subscribe if you aren't. Comment which game mode is the best. It's not hardcore.